Okay, Kelly, can you take attendance?
Trustee Bradall.
Here.
Trustee Brocchini.
Here.
Trustee Doggett.
Here.
Trustee Steele.
Here.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, the district digitally records the audio and video portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and the item which you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A. You will be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak up to 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, your microphone will be muted. Okay, report out on closed session. The board met in closed session regarding legal conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, and the board took a vote of 5-0 to approve both items. Okay, approval of the minutes for April 28th, 2021. Okay, it's recommended that the board approve the minutes for April 28th. Are there any questions regarding this? I'll go through the list. Trustee Brocchini?
Questions.
Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos?
No questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 28th, 2021?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll call vote?
Trustee Bradall.
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini.
Yes.
Trustee Doggett.
Yes.
Trustee Steele.
Yes.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved with one motion, which is not debatable and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed on the regular order of business following the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding approval of the agenda or consent agenda? Trustee Brocchini?
No questions.
Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos?
My question or comment, I'm not sure how this works because I've never done this before, but I don't agree with item G. I think I mentioned it last time. I don't feel that our suspension and expulsion is serving all of our students in the way that it should. So I'm not sure. I mean, I will vote yes if, it moves the process along, and just put my note in there that I think we need to change some things in there.
So I think what we would want to do is for this discussion to happen is that we would pull that from the consent agenda and that it would be considered separately. So would you like to pull it from the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so for approval of the consent agenda and agenda, except for item G, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve. Oh.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll call vote?
Trustee Bradall.
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini.
Yes.
Trustee Doggett.
Yes.
Trustee Steele.
Yes.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, so we're taking out item G. The suspension, the AR and BP 5144.1 suspension and expulsion. Yep. So will we be redoing those at a later date, or?
So I'm happy to talk about that. What we can do is we can either approve them, or we can choose to move and redo them at a different date. So someone could make a motion about that, but Laverne could also share her concerns at this time as well.
My only concerns are that our policy isn't serving the children of color or the disabled.
Okay.
Okay, so should we pull that for a later date then? Dr. Olson, or?
It sounds like more discussion is needed on this. So the reason why we did it quickly last week is as we approved the district expulsion plan, we wanted to have board policies that were more legally in line with the state law. And so it is probably something that we would want to address relatively quickly, but sounds like there's a need for more discussion.
Okay, so we'll just plan to bring that back on a future agenda.
So that's trustees, that's actually really up to you, is what is the interest of the trustees?
Okay, so Laverne, would you like that brought up at a future agenda item?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it needs to be legal, I'm okay with you guys going on and voting. I'm sure there's 3 or 4 of you that would vote yes. But I do believe that we need to address the suspension rates of our children of color and the disabled.
Right. I mean, one of the reasons why, and again, we can make a decision about what to do, is that actually the laws that are put in place and that are specifically referred to in this policy actually do address many of those things around disproportionate. It would give teeth to many of the things that you're talking about. So, without having much discussion, it doesn't make sense to rush it through. But I think we could demonstrate the pieces of that you are concerned about being addressed in that policy. So we don't need it to be legal. I would like it to happen because it's more current with current laws. But if it would please the trustees that we take a little bit more time and do it when we do have time, that's fine as well. So I wouldn't want, to ask the other trustees to vote on something that that doesn't have the support of the board. Suspension and expulsion is one of the most challenging parts of your job. And so I think it's important that we have some agreement on that. So we will bring this back at a future meeting.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on that to bring it back? Or
That would be great, actually.
Okay, Kelly, can you take a vote to bring this back at a future date?
How about a motion in a second?
Motion, yes, the motion to bring it back at a later date.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kelly, can you
Thank
take
you.
a vote?
Trustee Burdell,
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Steele,
Yes.
and Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, communications. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda items or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name in the agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You will be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak up to 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, your microphone will be muted. LSEA.
Good evening. Today, LSEA had a very productive negotiation session for the 2020-2021 contract. Tonight, as part of the consent agenda, you saw more teacher resignations. Last week at our board work study session, we shared that we had estimated 10% of our bargaining unit assignments did not have a teacher for next year. Now that percentage is higher. We are happy that the LCAP Goal 1 conditions for learning includes recruiting and retaining staff. We negotiate again on Friday. We are hopeful that the district will be able to share ideas about how to meet that goal to recruit and retain our staff. Thank you.
Okay, CSEA.
Hello, my name is Nicole Sayers. I'm the president of CSEA. Tonight, I just want to say thank you to Heather, Superintendent Olson, for the nice gesture of appreciation that she personally brought to every school herself. And I know that was highly appreciated, and we thank you. I also want to just touch base on the year. You know, a global pandemic is something that I never even knew those words. Shutdown, shelter in place, not in my realm, but that's where we were. No airplanes, total silence, but the TV, we're all home. The TV is showing.
Nicole, we can't hear you. Did your sound go off? Nicole, your sound went off.
Let's see if it goes back on. Is it on? Okay, I just want to say thank you to everybody in this school district who has brought us along through Zoom and, you know, getting vaccinated and keeping the schools safe. And we're open. We are actually open for business at this moment, and we're going to be better in the fall. So you are all amazing. On that note, I also want to just say, you know, going back also could bring back some issues and anxieties for people. You know, we lost a teacher this year. We've lost a few people this year. Going back to that school could, you know, it could upset you. People have lost people in their private lives. People are maybe financially having issues, personally having issues, emotionally having issues. And, you know, as proud as we are, going back doesn't solve all of that. So I just want to put it out there that when you pass your coworker in the hall or in the office, just smile, say thank you, offer a hand, ask if you can help, show some compassion and kindness. Know that people, you know, their intent is good. They're trying as hard as they can. Everybody is trying as hard as they can. So I just want to say that if we can finish this year and be kind to each other, that would be a very nice way to end the year. Thank you.
Okay, people wishing to address the board. I think we have Kiyomi Arai.
All right. Hello. I am unmuted, correct?
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. My name is Kiyomi Arai, and this year I'm a third grade full year distance learning teacher. Many of the families in my class and throughout distance learning chose distance learning for their children for various reasons. Some thought it was the safest thing to do. Some thought it would be the most consistent way of learning. Regardless of the reasons, these families converted their homes into long-term shared work and school environments. Some changed their work schedule completely to be available for their children. Some took a leave of absence and a huge financial blow. These parents have become their child's or children's only friend to play with, became counselors for their child dealing with isolation and social withdrawals. These families made the commitment and stuck with it, even though they desperately wished to have their children attend in person 2 days a week. It is because of their year-long commitment that many of our hybrid classes are able to be smaller in size. This small class size makes it so much easier to socially acclimate in-person students with their peers and emotionally and physically feel safe to return to school. As distance learning students return in person in the fall, I hope the district does not forget the fact that they will be returning after almost a year and a half of not being in real school. I hope the district will have in place a solid social and emotional support system for students, a way to support students dealing with long-term isolation from peers, newly developed phobias, image issues after looking at themselves for long periods of time on screen, etc. And this obviously doesn't only apply to full year distance learning students. I just mainly wanted to acknowledge the commitment and sacrifice full year distance learning families have made this year and how their choice has benefited other families in our district. And while I have a minute left, let me speak to the social emotional needs of students in our district. You may be fortunate to have maybe one brave parent come and speak to the public about their potential suicidal child. For that one parent, please know that there are probably 10 or 20 or more that are dealing with similar issues. Parents do not want to publicly acknowledge the fact that their children wants to self-inflict pain on themselves, not want to be alive, express how they don't like how they look, share how nervous and scared their child has become, or how depressed, stagnant, and silent their children have also become. And I'm not just talking about middle school students here. However, I do feel that the middle school students have suffered the most from not having in-person learning. These statements are coming from children of all ages. Many parents are not comfortable sharing this information and go unnoticed and undealt with. I do feel that we, as a district who has only offered 2 days of in-person learning for 8 weeks of the school year, we have an obligation for families come this fall to not only support their academic loss, but their social and emotional challenges that have occurred during this very long pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Pacifica School Volunteers, Patrick Sayers. Patrick, you're muted.
Hello? Got it? Hi, I wanted to update the board on some of the important activities Pacifica School Volunteers is involved since the COVID prevention took over our schools. Working with district teachers and adjusting to Zoom platforms, PSV placed 60 school volunteers in 75 classrooms since the closing of schools. This involved training and preparing our volunteers to help over 300 students who needed additional help adjusting to the distant learning classrooms. Today, with the hybrid returning to school, 50 volunteers have remained to help teachers at a distance. Our volunteer efforts include a volunteer-led art class for 35 second graders at Sunset Ridge School, providing 12 high school volunteers at the new IBL After School Homework Club, and recruiting 12 multilingual volunteers to help our English language learners make it through school and homework assignments. Our language volunteers include speakers of Portuguese, Arabic, Spanish, and German. And then finally, Pacifica School Volunteers will be hosting ThinkBridge Summer Camp at Valemar School this summer from June 21st to July 16th. Registration and camp information can be found at thinkbridgecamp.org, and we have camp scholarships that are still available. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other members of the public for comment. Okay, we'll go on to correspondence. Dr. Olson.
I do have attached to the agenda, we put the letter we received from San Mateo County Office of Ed's second interim letter. We've also posted those on our website. So we just received that last week.
Okay, and board superintendent communications. I can go down the list. Okay, Trustee Burkini, did you have anything?
Just a couple things. I did try to go around during Teacher Appreciation Week to as many schools as I could get to. I went to Valemar, Ortega, Cabrillo, and Ocean Shore. I just kind of wanted to go around and say thank you. I just really appreciate everything everybody's done, and I just wanted to take some time to do that. And Sunset Ridge and IBL, I haven't forgot about you. I'll make it there too. So. Also today, I attended the Spark Poetry competition for 5th graders, and I'm always really impressed with the Spark Poetry, and it's just another great thing that PEF actually brings to us, but it's just impressive to see these 5th graders and what they can come up with. It's such a young age, and it's just amazing and moving. So that was today, and that was great. And then I also attended county officials calls, and again, things are looking up, numbers are looking up. Continue to get vaccinated if you haven't yet, but it's looking good. So that's it for me today.
Okay, Trustee Steele.
I've got no new correspondence for you all.
Okay, Trustee Doggett?
No new correspondence, but I do want to point out that since they lowered the age for vaccinations, I was able to get my daughter vaccinated and noticed that there were a lot of ABL students also out getting vaccinated. So it seems as though things are going in a really great direction. So I just wanted to share that.
Yay. Okay, Trustee Villalobos?
Well, you know that we had the LCAP work study. I had a meeting with the superintendent, Elizabeth. And last night, I did the listening circle. And I think the correspondence part, I've been corresponding with Dr. Cordero of the Association of Brahmi Touche Ohlone, getting his input on our land acknowledgement, which will come later. And then I just want to thank Sheila Merlot. She is the parent who brought that to our attention. We were just, swamped in COVID. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Sheila. And that's it.
Okay, I had the Pacifica Coalition meeting and joint articulation meeting, along with the San Mateo County calls. And I guess the big thing was last Saturday, that was Communities United, which was in San Mateo in the park there on Saturday. And it was Asian support, Black Lives Matter, just trying to get everybody together in the county and elected officials from pretty much every town. And Mayor Beckmeyer was there with me, and also Tiger Jazz, Big Stick was there. So Pacifica was very well represented. Jackie Spear spoke, and everybody all the way down. So it was a big turnout there, and it was a really, really nice day. And let's see, the regular elected calls. And then there was also a Zoom meeting. Part of what Mary Beer does was Youth in a Pandemic, which was a interesting get together on Zoom where the kids were talking about their different experiences and how they were affected during a pandemic. And it's actually a series of different meetings this week. So I have a couple more coming up it's really interesting to hear the kids that age speak for themselves. And Dr. Olson, did you have anything else?
Just in general, overwhelming gratitude and thanks across the board. If we think about where we've been in the pandemic and coming out of this, is the parents that have been so incredibly supportive of students and schools as they reopen. I think our school reopening is going well. As Nicole mentioned, there are always some kind of sticky points and some continued challenges as we return. But from a COVID standpoint, we have, since we've reopened with students, 0 positive cases and 0 need for contact tracing. And I'm a little reluctant to say that, but halfway through this opening, because the minute we say it, something else changes. But I am really, really surprised, because I said to you many times, it wasn't if, it was when. And so we will have a positive case at some point, but right now things are going very, very well. And that is because of this effort to bring kids back safely, to wait for the vaccinations. While it was very difficult, it is paying off in terms of just a consistent return to school. I'm delighted that 12 through 15-year-olds can be vaccinated. And I think, it provides a sense of relief for many parents. So super excited about that. And then just a shout out, as this is the PEF donation drive this week, starts tomorrow. And many of those programs, whether that be some of the music programs or the program that Trustee Brocchini was talking about, are all funded by PEF. And so we are delighted by their support. And they have a really interesting challenge this year in terms of encouraging membership. So please look for those letters from myself, from PEF, from your principals. It's a great organization.
Okay, item 10, presentation. District-wide Artathon presentation. Dr. Olson?
Yep. We are going to ask Amy Cole Farrell. We're going to ask Will to elevate her to a panelist because she's going to provide some introductory remarks. And then we're going to show a video, but I'll just give you the context of where we were. So remember, in January, we had kind of intended to come back to school around January 20th, and cases were skyrocketing at that point. COVID deaths were on the increase. And so that was kind of a dark time. We almost don't even remember that at this point as we reopen the world, but that was kind of a dark time. And so then to get an email from Amy Cole Farrell around like, hey, let's try this really fun thing that Pacifica and the community can benefit from. So I will hand it over to Amy. Will, do we have Amy Cole Farrell?
I'm trying to find her. I can't find her.
Oh, you know what? She's probably under, I see Nicholas Cole Farrell. So let's see if we can, I'm going to promote Nicholas to panelist.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Amy, might that be you? There we go. Perfect. And you have to unmute yourself.
I certainly do. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Amy Cole Farrell, and I'm here as coordinator of Arts Now Pacifica, an arts education advocacy group supported by the California Alliance for Arts Education. Arts Now Pacifica was launched in 2019 and includes community and school leaders in partnership to ensure and celebrate arts education in our district. Arts Now, in partnership with Sanchez Arts Center, Pacifica Education Foundation, and Pacifica School District PTOs, coordinated a district-wide art-a-thon based on the theme, Here Comes the Sun, during Arts Education Month in March 2021. During this time, professional artists from Sanchez Arts Center provided educational videos on various art techniques that students accessed through a special Google Classroom for the art-a-thon. Students created artwork at home inspired by Here Comes the Sun, then uploaded a photo of their final work to the classroom. And I am pleased now to share with you the virtual art gallery of the Art-a-thon 2021 submissions.
There are a few technical challenges with sharing a video online, but I think we got it figured out. That was fantastic. What a great way to start. Any other words, Amy?
No, thank you for letting me share that today.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Okay, item B, resolutions of appreciation for retiring teachers and classified staff. Resolution numbers 2021-05-19-A through 2021-05-19-I. Alexis?
Thank you. It is with great honor and respect that I present to you tonight the resolutions of appreciation for retiring teachers and classified staff. Tonight, we are honoring 9 extremely important leaders whom we are all grateful for. The retirees have played a significant role in educating our students, and I personally extend my sincere gratitude and admiration to each and every one of them. For those retirees who are in attendance tonight, I will ask their supervisor to read the resolution of appreciation. We will start with Ms. Peterson, who will present the resolution honoring retiree Martha Williams. Ms. Peterson?
Thank you. Martha Williams, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, that whereas Martha Williams has been a highly successful child nutrition cook in the Pacifica School District since 2000, proving herself to be utterly unflappable superhero, remaining calm, cool, and collected through all types of kitchen chaos. Some suspect she is in possession of a magic wand, as her variety cart was always beautifully prepared and her cookies baked to perfection. And whereas Ms. Williams has enriched the lives of a countless number of students and their families by always having a kind word for all students and using her wonderful sense of humor to coax a smile from each one of them at Valleymar School. And whereas Ms. Williams has provided excellent support to her administrator, teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Being a complete team player by patiently training subs, being her coworkers' biggest fan and cheerleader, and working through holidays and summers so families could get meals. Ms. Williams was truly loved and respected by all. And whereas Ms. Williams has more than fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities as a child nutrition cook in a professional and highly exemplary manner, no one is more deserving of a relaxing retirement with her family who have shared her with us for all these years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Martha Williams upon the occasion of her retirement following 21 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extend its sincerest best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson, and congratulations, Ms. Williams. Principal Flores Ike will present the resolution honoring retiree Isla Payne Dwyer.
I will promote her to panelist.
Thank you, Dr. Olson.
Hi, Principal Flores Ike. You need to unmute. You got it.
All right. Isla Payne Dwyer. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Isla Payne Dwyer has been a highly successful teacher in the Pacifica School District, serving Pacific Heights and Cabrillo School since 1999, and whereas Ms. Dwyer enriched the lives of countless students and their families with Shakespeare plays, Green Witch challenges, edible plant cells, daily science dictionaries, Iditarod races, and an accidental science fire. Oh. Whereas Ms. Dwyer successfully transported students using trains, planes, buses, boats, snowshoes, roller coasters, and trampolines on countless field trips around the Bay Area and overnight trips, including Oregon, Catalina, San Diego, and Yosemite. And whereas Ms. Dwyer built strong relationships with colleagues, constantly being open to learning new skills and gaining more knowledge, asking questions, observing, collaborating, and enriching her teaching to benefit her students. And whereas Ms. Dwyer has provided excellent support to her fellow administrators, fellow teachers, staff, and students, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and school. Ms. Dwyer is truly loved and respected by all, whereas Ms. Dwyer has fulfilled all her duties and responsibilities as a teacher in a professional and highly exemplary manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Ms. Dwyer upon the occasion of her retirement following 22 years of faithful and dedicated service to public education, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Stay gold, Ms. Dwyer.
Thank you, and congratulations to Ms. Dwyer on her retirement. Dr. Olson, will you please present the resolution honoring retiree Suzanne Campos?
It would be my pleasure. So as you remember, Suzanne is the one that initiated us into the world of Zoom board meetings. So we'll be forever grateful. So the Board of Trustees, Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Suzanne Campos has been a highly successful clerical assistant, administrative secretary, and most recently, executive assistant to the superintendent in the Pacifica School District. And whereas Suzanne supported many district staff and families, and whereas Suzanne has provided excellent support to her superintendents, school district, and site staff, demonstrating incredible patience, caring, and pride in her work and the district. Suzanne Campos was truly respected and adored by all. And whereas Suzanne has fulfilled all of her duties and responsibilities as a clerical assistant, administrative secretary, and the executive assistant to the superintendent, as well as to the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees in a professional manner and with warmth and grace. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District extends its best wishes to Suzanne Campos upon the occasion of her retirement following 20 years of dedicated service to the Pacifica School District, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Thank you, Suzanne. We miss you.
Thank you, Dr. Olson, and congratulations to Ms. Campos on her retirement as well. Thank you to each and every one of you. We really do appreciate all of your leadership to our district. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve resolution numbers 2021-05-19A through 2021-05-19I.
A motion to approve.
Okay, I was going to go down the list to see if there are any questions, but or we can make any comments afterwards.
Sorry.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll?
Sure. Trustee Bradell.
Yes.
Trustee Brocchini.
Yes.
Trustee Doggett.
Yes.
Trustee Steele.
Yes.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
And I just want to say thank you to all of them for, all of the many years of work, and to enjoy this next part of your, next chapter of your lives. And you're all going to be very missed. And, everybody here is like a family. So it's really, we're really notice you all missing, but you're going on to much more fun times, I hope. No more Zoom meetings, maybe. So I don't know if anyone else wanted to make a comment or not.
Just a quick shout out to Ms. Dwyer. When I was a senior in high school, we had an extra credit project to watch her play, and she made all the seniors at Terra Nova do a human pyramid afterwards. It's a great photo of it. Good memory. But best of luck to you, Ms. Dwyer.
I just want to say thank you. I see some names on there from when I first came into the school district. And so thank you, everybody.
If we were in person, we would go out into the foyer and have a big piece of cake. And I think that is not replicable on a virtual platform.
Okay, we can go on to district goals now. Congratulations, everybody. Okay, 11 district goals. The district values the goals provided in our local control accountability plan and strategic plan. All of our district board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more goals are listed in the description of each board and agenda item. The details for each of these district goals can be accessed on the district website at www.pacificasd.org. Okay, item 8, what time is it? We gotta wait 3 more minutes.
Really?
Yeah, we're really close. Okay.
That's okay. We can.
What do we do? Want to go into another item? We'll see. Try to see if there's something that's relatively short.
No, they're all
longer.
They're all longer. Well, we could move up to the public appointment director of human resources if you want.
Okay.
It seems like that would be a timely one.
Trying to miss that one. Let's see.
But we would have to amend the agenda.
Oh, to just.
So we really can't just start early? Is that that's like our super
So when it's a public hearing, so.
Yeah, so we have to wait the 2 minutes. Well, it's 2 minutes.
And you know what? By the time we got done voting to amend the agenda, we're going to be done. So
I thought we had done it before without having to vote on it, but we had just gone around the item. But
right. Well, how about we start to introduce that, and before the actual public hearing part is, I'll just give people a little bit of context of the work that we're doing. Is so. Despite being in a 14-month pandemic and working hard to return students and staff to school, we were still required to do a 3-year LCAP, which was just crazy because at any different point during the year, we didn't know necessarily what to expect or what was coming around the curve. And so, but we met the requirement of making a plan. It's just incredibly challenging to think 3 years out when in fact we were struggling this school year to think about 3 months out. And so I just want to, this is not a complete delay technique, but I just want to put a shout out to Will Lucy, who has kept that boat going down. And not the boat going down, kept the boat afloat. That would be a bad analogy, right? Kept the boat afloat all the way through this. And if we think about last week, we had the board work study. He spent the entire day doing CASP testing, just kind of one more ball that he had to be kept up in the air as we close out the school year right after opening school. So I applaud him for doing the work and connecting with the stakeholders and just recognizing that we know that we could not at this time be writing a plan for 3 years that will not have some adjustments. And you'll see in the presentation, we have some plans for how to do that. So I believe I have adequately placed us at 7:45.
You have stalled for 3 minutes. Okay, item A, public hearing. Learning control and accountability plan and annual update. Governance, Will Lucy.
All right, sorry about that. I was having trouble unmuting myself. I believe that Heather's going to start off and then she's going to hand it over to me. So the first few slides she's going to introduce and talk about.
Okay, hit it, Will. I think that's just what I described is the whole challenge of doing an LCAP at a time that we were barely able to plan 3 months in advance. So let's keep moving. And because you saw most of this presentation, we're going to go very, very quickly through it, just so that we are presenting it. But Will met with stakeholders, and some general things that we saw were some of the items that we discussed in the work study last week. We keep moving. I think the key that you will hear in tonight's LCAP presentation, but also carries on to our extended learning opportunity, is really knowing our students. And as we come out of this pandemic, and I know that parents are interested in this information, is how are students doing? How are they doing academically? And how are they doing on a social emotional plane? And so when we have that sense of what getting to know each student, and we will do this using an online assessment that we are purchasing, so that we will have a sense of what students need quickly, and then what do individual students need, what do some students need, what do all students need, and from there, what does staff need to know in order to do that? So we're going to move quickly through this. Just to set the context, like I talked about at the work study, this is a unique moment in time where, if you'll remember, in January, we were doing budget reductions. We were not clear on how we were going to be able to have a balanced budget. And we did do some reductions this year. And then now there is adequate funding. There's one-time funding that is going to help us. And it's not like we've hit the lottery, but it's more like we don't have to foreclose on our house this year. This will help us in the next 2 years. The challenge is knowing what students and families need and using that money to set up structures that are going to benefit our kids and our schools for the long term. So this is a really unique time. Keep moving. There are a number of organizations that are looking at some ideas around restarting California schools, and many of those are well-respected organizations. And so that's where some of these ideas came out of. Moving quickly. So if we really look at this, is just as one of our public speakers spoke about, was really centering on relationships. That relationship, making sure that we have a robust social emotional learning program. You're going to see in our extended learning opportunity grant that we're prioritizing mental health, really looking at improving and strengthening our staff expertise. So these are some ideas that are well known in terms of planning for a return to school. Keep going. So I will hand over to Will, but we're really looking at keeping this presentation very brief. So Will?
All right. So it's a 3-year plan, but there's a kind of a step process that we've gone through with this plan. And that's, like Heather was just pointing out, the understanding the student, and then understanding and being able to expand instructional and social emotional supports of the students, and then knowing what that impact is when we do that, what that impact is. So it's kind of going to be a cycle throughout this 3-year plan of those 3 steps. And then the LCAP goals are divided, like mentioned before, into these 3 areas of conditions of learning, the academic outcomes for students, and then improving the social emotional wellness and health of students, which includes parent participation and a number of other things in that realm. We started with goal 3 because even though we list the goals 1, 2, 3, it's not prioritized. The goal 1 is not the priority versus goal 3. They're just 3 separate goals. And we just started 3 in that because that's really the area that we really want to put a lot of focus around the social and mental health, not only of our students, but also promoting self-care for our staff. And then making sure our school climates and school sites are safe. And then part of that being opportunities to have meaningful family input and participation. But that's kind of continuing on from our past LCAPs, that piece. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but they're really broken into these 6 sections: the assessment piece, a collaboration piece, a professional learning piece, an instruction piece, a family engagement, and an intervention. And all of these, the actions under these, or the titles of actions under these, are connected to those areas of collaborator intervention. And remember, these particular actions go through that 3-step process of understanding where our students are at, and putting in supports based off that data we know about for these students, and then, or that we discover for these students within the data, and then monitoring our impact of what we're doing. Goal 2 is around student outcomes and academic outcomes. It's noted here that math, English language arts, and English language development are the focus, but it is inclusive of all subject areas. Just the goal is around that emphasis on those 3 areas, but it is inclusive of all 3 areas, and it starts with assessment. And then again, we have the 5 of the 6, just like we had in goal 3: assessment, collaboration, professional learning, instruction, and interventions. All these actions that are underneath these areas are, again, following those 3 steps, those 3 cycle of steps that will take us through all 3 years of this LCAP. And again, the flexibility with this goal and the actions underneath it gives us an opportunity to really make adjustments from the first year to the second year to the third year. And we know the reality is we will be needing to make adjustments on this plan. And in goal 1 is about the conditions of learning. So this, again, it goes along with the idea of that safe facilities and a conducive learning environment, making sure that we have all the instructional materials. And as we know, and as all educators have realized, that idea of instructional materials is not just around textbooks and workbooks, but it's more of all those support materials that support your adopted materials within the content areas. That, and then the other piece, which is a big part of it, is that idea of recruiting and retaining highly qualified, diverse teachers and educational staff. So again, that's around the conditions of learning goal. And then again, these actions are pretty in line with the goal, and it basically take each part of it: the highly qualified and diverse staff, the instructional materials, and the safe facilities. These are the general actions that are underneath that goal 1. So if there's any questions or discussion, I know I kind of went through that very quickly. I do want to again point out that this is a living document, and not just for here in Pacifica School District, but every LCAP that is developed, even traditionally, the big point is that it's a living document, and it's constantly being monitored, and there will be adjustments that'll be made. We just know that the reality is that there will be, we know after we go through the first year of this, we're going to have to make some, we might be making major adjustments to the plan.
Okay, I can go down the list to see if anyone has questions. Trustee Burkini?
I have no questions, but I just, in general, it looks really good. I appreciate all the work that went into it. Seems like it hit on all the really important places that we need to move forward on. So thank you.
Okay, Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Okay, Trustee Villalobos?
No questions. I just want to say Linda said it very well, that after for 3 years and in the pandemic, putting this together. So thank you.
Okay, so this is just information and not for a vote?
Yes, it'll be approved at the next board meeting, which will be the 9th of June. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you for all your work. Okay, we'll go to.
But because this is the public hearing, is that if there are any members that request to provide public comment on the LCAP? I don't see any in Q&A. I think we're good. This would be the place where someone could do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't see anyone coming in. Okay, we have another public hearing. The budget 2021-22, Josie Peterson.
Thank you. We did talk about the budget at the study session last week as well. And as Will's bringing up the presentation, I just want to let you know again that the budget was prepared using the governor's January proposal because the May revise only came out last Friday. And we have tomorrow, Dr. Olson and I will be attending the school services conference to hear all the details of the May revise. So you can go ahead and move forward, Will. That was fast.
Maybe not that quickly.
So the first page was really just what's included in this presentation. And go ahead and go forward again. So LCFF funding, this is again our local control funding, and the 3.84% was what was proposed by the governor in January. The May revise is now proposing a 5.07%. So this chart will be updated by school services after the conference. Tomorrow we'll get a copy, but this really shows you how much funding we get per student per grade level. So for example, kindergarten through third grade, we get $7,700. And then the COLA is another $296. And then for a total of almost $8,000. And then we also receive funding for grade span 24-1 in that grade level. So just over $8,800 we receive per student for kindergarten through third grade in our district. And you can go ahead and move forward. One of the other factors in the local control funding formula is we also receive additional funds for what's called our unduplicated count. Our students who are English learners, free and reduced, meal program, or foster youth. And our district does meet the 20% threshold for supplemental funds. So you can see in the middle column what the supplemental funding is per student in that category. We do not come even close to reaching the 50% concentration grant funds that many of our neighboring school districts receive. But you can see it is quite a bit more funding when you get to that 50% threshold. And you can go ahead and go forward. So I think, Dr. Olson, these next three slides you wanted to touch on.
Right. And I spoke to this at the work study last week, which is that in the first two columns, Senate Bill 117 and SB 98, those were spent predominantly in our return to school. So the first 52,000 were spent predominantly on PPE from March to June. For employees that were at work. And then the two pieces of funds that are available at this point is the in-person instruction grant, which we estimate to be between $700,000 and $800,000 because of our return on the 19th of April. And then tonight we'll be presenting the plan for the expanded learning opportunity grant. That recently was spoken of. And so to generate that plan was really kind of based on what's the work that we're going to be doing around the LCAP that's not something separate from that. So you'll be hearing more about that, and you'll see how that supports our students and is consistent with our goals. Josie? And then the federal pandemic funding we'll be getting more of an idea a little bit later, but today we'll be talking about the money, the expanded learning opportunity grant. I'll let you take it over, Josie.
You're muted, Josie.
Muted.
Oh, I was just going to say, I thought this was a slide you wanted to go over.
Oh, that absolutely is the slide that I wanted. That's actually what I was waiting for. So, like I've said before, is the issue is the one-time money is fantastic, and we're very happy for it because it'll give us the opportunity to do some things that we want to do with students. But it's still not enough money. And this on this slide, this is actually Dr. Levin, our former trustee. His life's research is around how much would it adequately take to adequately fund schools. And in California, we know that there's not enough money. One-time money is fantastic, but there needs to be more base money. Just recently, this week in the Daily Journal, last week in the Daily Journal, it showed the funding or the spending of the school districts in San Mateo County, and we were at the very, very lowest. I'll also send that out to each of you, and we're surrounded by school districts where they're receiving $25,000 per student, or that they're spending $25,000, $30,000 per student, where we're spending $11,000 per student. So thank you, Josie.
So tonight we're going to present to you the details of the Pacifica School District budget. You can go ahead and move forward. And we're going to have the detailed budget and multi-year projections. And we are going to present to you tonight a positive certification, which means the district will be able to meet its financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years. So you can go ahead and move forward. So these are the assumptions basically from the governor's January proposal. As I said earlier, 3.84%. Now the May revise has 5.07%. Our attendance has gone down since the pandemic, but we are fortunate to be able to use our 2019-20 ADA. Our supplemental funding has also decreased. We're now at 23%. The lottery projections are $150 per ADA for unrestricted and $49 for restricted. And then the state deferrals, which you heard a lot about this year because we had to borrow $7 million for our school district. His May revise is pretty much the same as the January proposal. He's going to buy down most of the deferrals, but leaving the June deferral in place, which still means Pacifica School District will be short on cash on June 30th of next school year, and the state would pay us in July. So we would still be looking at borrowing funding to get to be positive on June 30th. And go ahead and move forward. So the budget assumptions on the expense side is CalSTRS is the California Teachers Retirement System, and then CalPERS is the classified retirement system. For CalSTRS, there is a projected decrease of 0.23% for a savings of just under $30,000. And for the classified retirement system, there's an increase of 2.3%, which is $94,000 for our school district. Employee step and column is estimated at this time as we have some turnover going on. You saw the retirements that we acknowledged tonight. But for certificated, it's about $185,000 and $65,000 for classified. For health benefits, we don't yet know what the CalPERS rates are. The CalPERS rates will be finalized in June, and so we projected a 5% increase effective January 2022, and that's $105,000. One of the biggest increases that I haven't seen ever in unemployment is an increase from 0.05% to 1.23%, and that's $189,000 for Pacifica School District's budget. Another area that we've seen significant increases across the country, and you've seen all of the floods and fires and such. Our property and liability insurance is going to increase $61,000 next year, and part of that also is experience. Pacifica School District did file a couple of property loss insurance claims this past year. We talked a lot about the child nutrition loss. The state, it looks like in the May revise, there's going to be some help for us in that area. But right now, conservatively, we're looking at a $600,000 loss. So this is a review of what we had presented previously as we were building the budget. These are the proposed budget reductions, and basically the teachers are matching the staffing to enrollment. We did hire additional teachers with COVID funding to lower class sizes and do full-time distance learning. Child nutrition has had some attrition. The attrition number is the difference between the employee that left and a projected amount of what the new cost will be. Same with transportation and maintenance. And then we also had a shift in our site funding. We have experienced quite a bit of carryover during the pandemic. The sites hadn't spent their funds. So we shifted the funding from what's called SIPSA base to SIPSA supplemental. And so the total reductions in this budget are $660,000. And you can go ahead and go forward. So, we're facing a lot of uncertainties. We prepared this budget 2 weeks ago and already so much has changed at the state level. So, we're looking at the governor's May revision, and then what will it be in June when the state makes their final budget adoption. Our local control funding is dependent on our enrollment, and we are still working on that as far as seeing how many families will come back. The state deferrals, that's a big one for Pacifica because we don't have a lot of reserve, a lot of cash or cash flows. So the state deferrals really impacts our school district. Enrollment, attendance, and staffing is still not completed for the fall. And then the contributions to programs, there could be changes in the child nutrition, special education, or deferred maintenance contributions from the general fund. And you can go ahead and move forward. So here's a snapshot of general fund revenues, and really what it demonstrates is how dependent Pacifica is on the state's local control funding. It's 84% of our budget, and because of the complicated formula for the way property taxes are distributed in San Mateo County, our district stopped receiving property taxes last school year. So 100% of our LCFF sources are now state aid, and that's where we have cash flow problems because the state's not paying us. We only receive 3% in federal revenues, 8% in other state revenues, and then 5% locally is what we generate from our parcel tax and some local grants. You can go ahead and move forward. And this is, again, the total expenditures in the general fund. And you can see that the breakdown of certificated salaries, classified administrators, and benefits, and then the other costs. In previous years, our employee costs added up to 83%, but currently it's about 72% because we've spent more funding now on COVID-related expenditures, the child nutrition loss, and then contracting out for services where we don't have current employees in place. And go ahead and move to the next chart, Will. It's pretty much the same information, but we had a question from one of our trustees as far as combining the compensation, the benefits, breaking it down between the various categories. So in this chart, it breaks down certificated compensation is 49%, classified 20%, and then administrators 10%, and then you have your other categories. So we can go ahead and move forward. So here's the same chart we shared with you last week. It's a summary of our general fund with the 3.84% COLA built in. And you can see that our general fund has a reserve of just under 5%. It's 4.86%. And then we have 2.18% in Fund 17. So a total reserve of 7%, which isn't really a lot when you look at cash flow needs and what recommendations are for carrying reserves. You can go ahead and move forward. This is a summary of the contributions, so you can see what also comes out of the LCFF funds. The state requires us to contribute 3% of our total general fund budget to what's called routine restricted maintenance. And that's what pays for our maintenance department, the vehicles and supplies and all of the work that's done in that department. And then special education is severely underfunded at the federal and the state level. So our district contributes $4.2 million to special education, and that comes out of the unrestricted general fund funding as well. And then deferred maintenance, the state used to fund deferred maintenance in a separate fund. It was about $120,000, and then the district was required to match that. So we used to get almost $250,000 a year to cover what's called deferred maintenance, or the things that's not covered by the bond or routine maintenance. It's like fixing your roofs, painting a school. We had a big plumbing issue at Cabrillo a couple weeks ago. The $40,000 is currently not covering the needs in that fund. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at as we move forward is what do we need to cover an annual deferred maintenance plan. And then child nutrition, there were two ways we funded the $600,000 loss. Half of it came out of the general fund as a contribution, and half of it from the SB 86 learning loss funds this time. That's how it's budgeted. You can go ahead and go forward. So this is a snapshot of all the funds in the district, and I think it's a good summary for everyone to see the various funds that the district has. So the general fund, we've gone over, and we're going to go over again in our multi-year. But in the second column, it's the Cafeteria Child Nutrition Fund, and you can see the federal revenues and state revenues. That's what we get from the federal and state for lunch reimbursements. Our local revenues is almost zero this year because we didn't sell any lunches. We're giving away all of the lunches, and unfortunately our lunch counts are down, and that's why we are having a loss in this program. So the transfer in and using the COVID funds basically helps this fund to just break even for this year. And then deferred maintenance, we talked about the $40,000. We were only able to charge $40,000 of expenditures this year. And so a lot of those other expenditures, like the plumbing issues and such, have to be covered by the general fund. Special Reserve Fund 17 is a board designated fund for additional reserves. And the Board of Trustees many years ago, when there was a change in boundaries between San Bruno and Pacifica, there was a school that was annexed over to San Bruno. I think it was Portola School. And so because of the ADA, the attendance, we were able to keep the funds for the higher attendance from those students for 1 year. At that time, it was, I want to think it was about $1 million was put in that fund. And what's happened over the years is whenever we have an unanticipated cost, a litigation settlement or some sort of loss, the board then transfers the funds from Fund 17 to the general fund. In addition, during deficit spending years, we have used those funds to cover the deficit. So currently, Fund 17 has a balance of $732,000. And then Special Reserve Fund 20, that is where we pay the retiree benefit costs are covered. So when an employee retires from Pacifica School District and they have a certain level of service in years, the district does cover for the retirement benefits for up to 10 years. And that's the single medical and single dental costs for the employee. And so we keep a balance in this special reserve fund to fund about 1 year's worth of those costs. We don't have nearly what's recommended when you look at the actuary report or what's recommended in the audit report. We do not have enough to cover that liability. The liability right now is $10 million for this district. And then the building fund is where we deposited the bond funds, and we don't have the whole $55 million. We only issued $18.5 million, and that's where we keep track of all of the facilities master plan projects. And we will bring another detailed report back to you of how that facility master plan is going, and Cece will come and present the current projects and the status. And then the next category is Capital Facilities Fund 25. That's what you call developer fees. When there's construction in Pacifica, the permits are filed, and the Jefferson Union High School District collects a facility use fee, and Pacifica School District receives a portion of that. This fund is highly restricted. It's restricted to areas of growth. So when we're doing our facilities master plan and there's a project that we're adding on to a school, we can start utilizing these restricted funds towards that and save on some of the bond funds. Previously, we have not been able to use these funds because it's not a huge amount of funds. And also we didn't have any matching funds to help us move the projects along. So the balance is $650,000, and we'll be able to start utilizing those funds. And then Special Reserve Capital Fund 40 is where we deposited several years ago. We sold a school site called Fairmont School, and it was about $3.6 million. And those funds were deposited there. And also when we do facilities use and leases, those funds are supposed to also go in there. Currently, we're using the lease income in these last several years to cover the deficit spending in the general fund, but really the fund should go in the Capital Fund 40. So right now, we're using those funds as a reserve to cover the workforce housing project, and we are spending some of the pre-development funds for the workforce housing project in this capital outlay fund. And so really that's a summary of all the funds for the school district so that you can see they're all included in the state forms in the backup as well. So you can go ahead and move forward. So this is a summary of the general assumptions for subsequent years because we're required to present three fiscal years to you, and you can see the COLAs projections and the employee pension costs, lottery, and the restricted maintenance account. Now, these figures might have changed slightly in the May revise, and then when we look at the final June budget, these COLA percentages could change again. So you can go ahead and go forward. So here is a summary of the current budget year and 2 fiscal years going out. So the summary for 21-22 will change when we come back in the fall, because we're going to have more information as far as the final state budget and our staffing. And then in 22-23, what I wanted to point out to you was the current COLA projection in the January proposal, the 2.98%, didn't cover the expenditures for 22-23. We went back into a deficit spending, and it's 3/4 of the way down the page. You can see a negative $532,000. So then going forward into the 23-24 school year, you can still see a negative 56,000, but that's after a transfer in from Fund 17 of 125,000. So it's really difficult to project multi-years. We use the best information we have at the time, but Pacifica School District is still struggling, with the LCFF funding being our only funding source, and then all of the increases in costs that we showed you earlier. It does create deficit spending, and you can see the 7% reserve slowly goes down to 4.8% in the third year. Now I'm going to rework all of these numbers for you with the higher COLA, and then when the final state budget comes out, and we'll take another look at that. But this is where we were when we had the January proposal. You can go ahead and go forward. So you've seen this chart before. It's really prepared by school services. They compile all this information and gather it from all the school districts. And there is a recommendation that districts maintain higher reserves, recommendation of up to 17% or 2 months worth of operating expenditures. So for Pacifica, that would be like a 17.5% reserve, and our current reserve is 7%. You can move forward. And then again, this is for review, the reasons why we need to have higher reserves. So you can go ahead and go forward. So we're going to present to you tonight a positive certification. All of the state forms and are attached to this budget presentation. And luckily we are positive. We did have a qualified opinion last year, and we've been able to move back into a positive status. So what are the next steps? We're going to listen to the details of the governor's May revise tomorrow. And then in June, we'll see what the final state budget is. At the district level, tonight's the public hearing. The LCAP and budget adoption are on June 9th. And then through the summer, we can work on finalizing our staffing and our enrollment. And then we'll be able to bring a more accurate report to the board during first interim in November of 2021. And that's it. Are there any questions or comments?
I guess at this point I can ask if there's any public comment before we go to board discussion. And if anyone would like to, in the public, would like to enter in the Q&A and be called upon. Okay. I don't see anyone there. I'll go over to the board members. If someone else from the public comes forward, we can always go back to that. So going down the line, Trustee Burkini, did you have any questions or comments?
No questions or comments today. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Steele?
No comments. Thank you for the detail, though.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Okay, Trustee Villalobos?
No questions.
Okay, so this was for information only. And I still don't see anyone in the Q&A. So we'll go to the third public hearing this evening. Item C, 2021-22 reserves in excess of state minimum level. Josie Peterson.
Okay, this is a funny item, but it's based on Senate Bill 858 back in 2015-16. And basically it says that school districts who have reserves above what is called the minimum reserve, which is 3% for us, must make available for the public what those reserves are and the reasons as to those reserves. So Attached to the memo is three sheets, and they're for each fiscal year. So I can just, as an example, go over 21, 22 for you. It states what the reserve should be, and then what is the excess reserve. And so for Pacifica School District, the excess over 3% is $616,000 used to cover operating deficits for the 22-23 school year and 23-24 school year, and then the revolving cash account that the district holds. So it's really information for the public and for the board, made available every year. It's just difficult to present when 3% really isn't enough for a school district at this time, but it is available now for the public and for the board.
Okay, again, we'll see if the public has any questions or comments, if they want to put their name in the Q&A, and then we would call on them for up to 3 minutes. Okay, I'll go on to the board members in the meantime. Trustee Burkini?
No questions.
Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos?
No questions.
Okay, we still don't have anyone in the Q&A. So thank you, Josie, for all that detail. Now we'll go on to item D, approval of resolution number 2021-05-19-J, budgetary increases and transfers at end of year. Josie.
Thank you. So this is a routine item that we bring to the board every year near the end of the year. And basically it allows the superintendent of schools to be able to offset any categories where there's over expenditures before we close the books, because we cannot close the books with any type of negative balances in any of our accounts. And so it's going to be the transfers that are made to end the fiscal year to cover all those different budget classifications where there could be overages.
Okay, do we have any questions? Trustee Burkini?
No questions.
Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Okay, Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos?
No questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2021-05-19-J, budgetary increases and transfers end of year?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kelly, can you take a roll call vote?
Trustee Burdell.
Yes.
Trustee Burkini.
Yes.
Trustee Doggett.
Yes.
Trustee Steele.
Yes.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item E, extended learning opportunity grant. Will Lucy?
Hi. Okay, I'm really having trouble this time getting my mute off for some reason, so I apologize. So the expanded learning opportunity grant, which was referenced earlier, before it start, it's being brought for approval to the board tonight. And before I start, I just need to point out that many of the things that are within this expanded learning opportunity grant are also within the LCAP. So the plan, there's a local control accountability plan that we had talked about, we just talked about. And then there's the extended learning opportunity grant, which provides supplemental instruction and support to specific student groups using 7 specific strategies. It is a one-time state grant, and we need to have adopted it before June 1st. 2021, we do have to, within 5 days of adoption, submit it to the California Department of Education. The intent of the extended learning opportunity grant is to implement recovery programs for these following groups. And they're pretty inclusive of a number of different groups: the low-income English learners, foster youth, homeless youth, students working below grade level, students who are disengaged, student at risk of abuse and neglect, and students with disabilities. It's really inclusive of all students that struggled because of the closure of schools. It's supporting all those groups. And then the strategies, the support strategies that you can utilize the funds for, there are 7 of them, but 6 of them really pertain to Pacifica School District. The support for credit deficient students is more of a high school strategy, but the rest of them, the extended learning time, the accelerated progress to close learning gaps, integrated services, the supports, those are around, social, emotional, mental health supports, supports and access to technology and high-speed internet, additional academic services, such as a diagnostic progress monitoring, and then also training of school staff. 10% of the funds must be used for paraeducators. The Pacifica School District's plan is and we'll kind of go through those strategies that we have them under. The first one being the extended instructional learning time, and that would be for social, emotional, physical health programs for lunch recess, and also addressing chronic absenteeism, which is an area that we've been addressing before, and we need to continue to address. And then for the accelerated learning progress, to close the learning gaps, tutoring, additional paraprofessional staffing, the training of paraprofessionals to be supporting those, to be supporting accelerated learning, and then also a continued focus on our accelerated progress. Under integrated student supports to address other barriers, within the plan is the idea of hiring additional counselors and a school psychologist, and then also having funds directed towards family outreach. Learning hubs for intervention with access to technology, internet, and other support areas. That would be, again, additional services to students and going side by side with that progress monitoring piece. And in the training of school staff on strategies for students and families in addressing student academic needs and social emotional health. So there'd be training as part of that for that purpose. And that's it. That's a quick kind of summary of the areas that we would be utilizing the ELO or the English Extended Learning Opportunity Grant funds for. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I can go down the list. Trustee Burkini, any questions?
My only question was about paraprofessionals. So it talks about 10% increase there. But I'm not sure I necessarily saw that in our district plan. So I just wanted to know how that was represented.
Hold on, I'm plugging in my laptop because it's running out of power. So I don't want.
I'll answer that question while you do that. Is that it may not be necessarily listed in our LCAP, but it is just a requirement of this particular grant, and so it could be increasing the hours of the paraeducators that we currently have. I know that's an interest for CSEA. Or if we look at doing some tutoring and hiring some people that would be available from 4 to 6 or something like that. So perhaps hiring additional people or increasing the hours of the people that we already have.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I just feel like the more bodies we have to teach our kids, the better. So this sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Steele.
No questions.
Trustee Doggett.
No questions.
Okay, Trustee Villalobos.
Yeah, my question is centered more around the social emotional health and behavior of the kids. So I'm wondering for the training for school staff, if we'll be hiring outside agencies, such as, what was the one Rachel Merlot mentioned? Circle Up, which addresses all of those needs for training the staff, helping with the circles because the kids have been out of school in person for over a year. And so when they come back, I'm just curious how we're going to help them and help the paraprofessionals too. And so I didn't really see anything like that. And, you know, I'm just going to put it out there that I think we need more support for the kids who are having behavior challenges, and that may increase. I mean, after everything I'm hearing tonight from comments, just knowing where we are and how the kids are doing. And so I need clarification. Are we going to get the additional outside help that we need?
So I'll answer that, and because you're kind of calling out one of the things that it may seem obvious, but in presenting this, we were very delivery agnostic. Like, we didn't say we're going to get this. And if Will would go to the one around social emotional learning around outside recess, is there's a very well-known company called Playworks. We think that we probably will be working with Playworks, but we're just now beginning to talk to them. And so we are looking for a program that would support kids. And basically what Playworks does is train your current staff on how to best provide engaging games and help kids solve issues as they come up. And so we didn't list that as a provider. We didn't list a lot as providers. You and I have spoken about having Dooley be a presenter or be a trainer. And so we just, because the goal to this is to get the plan made, and then kind of the next steps is thinking about how that delivery piece will happen. We know that we're very short-staffed in terms of having administrators that can be necessarily delivering professional development or really tight oversight. So we will be having to contract with outside providers to do some of the training. We just didn't specify which ones. And part of it is that we had to do this so quickly. So the money was announced right around the beginning of April. The rules came out with it, say at the beginning of May, at the same time that we're reopening schools. So we really have not had time to talk to this enough with our labor partners. We're talking to LSEA on Tuesday. We want to have continued conversations with CSEA around paraeducator training. So this is just like the part that we're doing to meet that June 1st deadline, and then we can fill in the pieces. The good news is that it's consistent with what our LCAP was. It's not something extra or different.
Yeah. Also, if I can add to it, there's been a lot of discussion through San Mateo County Office of Ed with regards to this funding, because other districts have this funding. So there has been a lot of talk about what resources and supports can be utilized. So I know that we're going to benefit off that conversation as a district, that we'll be able to kind of really learn a lot more and be able to do that. But as Heather mentioned, is we were just trying to make sure that we had it in the plan generally so that we could utilize those resources that we learned from.
Will, can you go up one more slide too as well? The other way, please. So in terms of additional counselors, like I said, in an ideal world, we would have one counselor per school. Just as described, is we don't necessarily know what to expect, but we know that a number of our students will have been affected by the pandemic. We will post for 5 school counselors. So Chito Garcia is going to become the assistant principal at Ingrid B. Lacey. That was approved today in the personnel actions. And so we need to post his position between Valamar and Cabrillo. But we will also post for 4 additional counselors. I'm not completely certain we'll be able to hire 5 counselors. I know that districts throughout the state are doing this. And so if we're not able to hire those counselors, then we will look at hiring some, probably contracting for services if that's what our students need. Our hope would be that we'd be able to get 5 counselors on that. We also are hiring an additional school psychologist because we know that we have a backlog on our assessments in terms of the pandemic, and we just need to catch up. And we don't want to wait because we don't want kids to be waiting for services on that end. So again, we tried to kind of strategically say what the things were without putting a brand name to them, but we will flesh out more of this plan as the days pass. We just had to get this in by the June 1st deadline.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the Extended Learning Opportunity Grant?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll vote?
Trustee Burdell,
Yes.
Trustee Burkini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Steele,
Yes.
and Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Will. Okay, item F, approval of resolution number 2021-05-19-K, Education Protection Account, Operations. Josie.
Thank you. So back in 2012, when Proposition 30 was passed, the state created what's called an Education Protection Account. And that's where the funds were deposited with the increase in taxes. Now, it wasn't an increase in funding for Pacifica School District. It was really just a shift in funding from what's now called LCFF funds to EPA funds. So it's just, actually, it was good for us because it means we're going to be paid by the state. They pay us quarterly for these funds, where the LCFF funds are now being deferred. So we're required now by the state to demonstrate how these funds are being spent. And in Pacifica School District, it's all being spent on instruction. The estimates for the 2021 school year are $5,498,771. And then we're also estimating that amount for next year until the CDE updates those amounts. So this is really for the public disclosure and the CDE to see how the funds are being spent, and it's all being spent on instructional services. So the charts are attached. I don't know if anybody has any questions. There's a resolution, and then there's the two charts.
Okay, we'll go down the list. Trustee Burkini, any questions?
No questions.
Trustee Steele?
No questions.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos?
No questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-05-19-K, Education Protection Act?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll call vote?
Trustee Burdell,
Yes.
Trustee Burkini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Steele,
Yes.
Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, item G, Public Employee Appointment, Director of Human Resources, Dr. Olson.
I am thrilled tonight to present to you. I thought this was a hard to fill position, and I'm thrilled to present to you Dr. Carla Chavez-Torres as the new Director of Human Resources. And when we learned that Director O'Flaherty was not returning, we were disappointed that we will miss her, but at the same time, we posted quickly and we advertised for the position on EdJoin. We had two committees, both a first interview committee, which included site staff, including CSEA and LSEA partners. And so it's my pleasure to present to you tonight Carla Torres. And I just want to give you a little bit of background, and because you'll see what a great match for us that she is. So she, just if we talk about administrative position, she was a bilingual teacher at Fiesta Gardens Elementary School in San Mateo, Foster City. But as a administrator, has been an English language development coordinator in Ravenswood School District, and assistant principal in Redwood City School District, has been a principal in San Jose and Burlingame, and is very well connected in the San Mateo Foster City School District. So knowing those different districts is a huge asset to somebody as they come into a cabinet level position, because you get to take the best from every district. So I am thrilled tonight to present Dr. Torres, and we would do the approval, and then I would introduce her to you just so that you could have a face with this important name. So as mentioned earlier, we do have a number of openings that as people are transitioning, retiring, or transitioning to other jobs. So it's a very important position to get those filled. But also when we think about our expanded learning opportunities and filling 5 counseling positions, in addition to all of our special ed positions and a additional school psychologist, we're going to put her right to work. So I would ask you, it is my recommendation that we approve the appointment of Dr. Carla Chavez Torres to the Director of Human Resources in the Pacifica School District.
Okay, any questions from the trustees? Trustee Burkini.
No questions.
Trustee Steele.
No questions.
Trustee Doggett.
No questions.
Trustee Villalobos.
No questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the appointment of Director of Human Resources?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Kelly, can you take the roll call vote?
Trustee Burdell,
Yes.
Trustee Burkini,
Yes.
Trustee Doggett,
Yes.
Trustee Steele,
Yes.
and Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Perfect. And now let's just use this opportunity for me to introduce you to Dr. Torres. If we were in a boardroom, there'd be applause all around, and she'd step up to the lectern and just say just a few words, Dr. Torres.
Well, I just want to say good evening, buenas tardes, Pacifica School District Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Heather Olson, Cabinet, Pacifica School District community. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you for this amazing opportunity to join the Pacifica School District family. I'm looking forward to building relationships with all the stakeholders, especially each member of our personnel. As Director of Human Resources, I'm also looking forward to building capacity and leadership within each of our personnel members. And also looking forward to working together to retaining and recruiting a diverse workforce. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Gracias.
We'll meet you in person one day.
Someday.
Okay, item H, approval of tribal land acknowledgement. Dr. Olson.
Yes, it is. I don't want to pass this off. Trustee Villalobos asked us to bring this forward, but she pointed out that Ms. Merlot brought this item up. I think the months all blur together now, but it was a long time ago. And so we are thrilled. So there's been quite a bit of work that's gone into this. And so I will ask Trustee Villalobos to introduce this one. And there are some recommended changes that we would like to call up. And so we'll put that up on the screen.
So I'm going to say it was maybe 3 months ago, 3 months sounds about right, or maybe even 4, when Sheila Merlot spoke in public comment about the land acknowledgement. And just personally, as an Indigenous person, whenever I'd hear a land acknowledgement, it would really, I don't know what the feeling is, but it was a good feeling whenever somebody would say, and we're on Omaha's traditional land. So in working with this, Elizabeth and I, we met 2 or 3 times, Elizabeth, and did some research. So a lot of what came from the actual statement was from the Ramaytush website. They have their website. And just to give you a little background, they're the original peoples of Pacifica and San Francisco, this peninsula area. And so there used to be about 1,500 of them. And after the missionaries came, came disease with colonization. And so now there's only really one family left where they're coming from now. And so they created a website and an organization, and it's called the Association of Ramaytush Ohlone. And so if you go to their website, they actually have a place there for land acknowledgements and a little history about them. And so after Elizabeth and I met the last time, I sent off the final copy to Dr. Cordero, and he is the one who is the founder of this organization. And so he sent it back with some wonderful revisions, making it sound more in the present tense, which is so important because I know that we live in California, but in other states in the South, some people think that we're no longer here. And so that's one really important catch. And just to give you an idea of what they're doing now, it says in April 2021, so just last month, the Ramaytush Ohlone entered into an agreement with the Deep Medicine Circle to exercise sovereignty over an indigenous-led farm, currently called the Ma-Da-Til, along the lower end of San Gregorio Creek in San Mateo County. Isn't that where our kids do outdoor ed? Along there? And so, in alignment with our ancestral responsibility to care of the people who reside in our ancestral homeland, the farm will provide free organic produce to the marginalized communities along the San Francisco Peninsula. So that is some of the work that they're doing right now. So I don't know, Elizabeth, do you want to go ahead and read the land acknowledgement?
Okay, do this properly. The Pacifica School District acknowledges that we gather on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. The Ramaytush Ohlone are the original stewards of this land, and their stewardship continues. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders and community. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples. As the original stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land. Okay, I guess we can see, do any board members have any questions? Trustee Steele?
No questions, but just a tremendous amount of respect and perseverance to you, Trustee Villalobos, for just putting all this down and really fighting for what is right.
And Trustee Burkini?
No questions, but again, thank you. I'm glad we've got this.
Trustee Doggett?
No questions.
Okay. Guess I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Could I just make one suggestion before we vote? Is we put in the pronounced Ramaytush part of that. I think it should have that in there one time, or maybe down to the bottom for the asterisks. It as we get ready to say this regularly, it will get in the way of the flow. So I think as beginners, it was good for us, but I'd like the pronounced, but maybe not have that pronounced each time it's in there. What do you think about that, Laverne?
I think that Elizabeth was reading like our version.
No, I took this version that was updated and just took out the strikeouts so that I could read it more evenly.
Okay.
And I also did put the Ramaytush pronunciation in there once because it distracted from my reading, from reading aloud, not from reading silently. But this had the implementation. I took it from this one that we're voting on.
Yeah, I took the one straight from his email that he mailed. And so I just wanted to be certain that it's the same that we have written down there. So, yeah. So what, Elizabeth, maybe you can go word for word while I read it. The Pacifica School District acknowledges that we gather on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders.
There was the one sentence, the Ramaytush Ohlone are the original stewards of this land and their stewardship continues. So were you taking that out?
So what I have in front of me is his direct revisions from the email. So he emailed back and said, "Hi, Laverne, I have made a few suggested revisions. I noticed the emphasis on stewardship and tried to group those ideas together at the end. Changed it a bit more to present tense to avoid having to use repeated past and present tense phrases and clauses." And so I think I emailed that. So it reads, so then he put like his version, the Pacifica School District acknowledges that we gather on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. As guests, we humbly extend our gratitude to the Ramaytush Ohlone elders and community. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland, and we affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples. As the original stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone understood the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land. So
the only two differences I see is that one sentence that we originally had in there is taken out. So I think it can go work either way about the original stewards of this land. I guess they mentioned it again later. And then the last sentence, what you read, it said the Ramaytush Ohlone understood the interconnectedness, and I believe it was supposed to be understand for the present tense.
So I just took his recommendations. For the last sentence, he put, likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land.
Okay, was the sentence before that? As original stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone, in this it says understand, but you've said understood. So I thought understand, it should be.
That was important to him.
Yeah, okay, so we keep the understand that's in here and just take out that one sentence.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it didn't sound the same when you were reading it. So do you want me to, I think I forwarded the email to you, Heather.
Yep, we have it. It's the one that Will has pulled up in terms of the striking. The one thing though that Kelly and I did, and it was upon your request, is that every time Ramaytush came up, we parenthesed, and we'd be fine doing that, but I don't think that should be a normal part of it. It gets in the way of reading it. We want people to understand that, but we don't want it after every time that it's in there. So if you're okay, we'll put it down at the bottom around how to pronounce it, and then leave it out of the document. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think the first one should be stated though, just so people know how to say the first one and then repeat it.
Sounds great.
Okay.
This is very, very well written.
So then we'll just take out that one sentence there. And it'll be understand in the present tense.
Yes. And yeah, so it's very small writing, but unseated.
Well, could you?
That's why I printed when I was reading very largely.
Could you increase that for my size font, please? Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Will.
I cut and pasted it, so I didn't change any words.
Yes.
Looks good. And we marked it up like this specifically because what was posted on the agenda on Friday and what we added, and we wanted it to be clear in terms of what the changes were.
I understand. They're connected as all things maintain harmony. Likewise, Pacifica. Yes.
Okay.
So it was just confusing with the strikeouts in the red. So just he's looking forward to working with the Pacifica School District as well, because they have projects that they work on. And so at a later time, I can follow up with that.
That would be great.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve with some slight changes? The land acknowledgement.
I'll make a motion to approve with all the strikeouts, and then also striking out the Ramaytush pronunciation and where necessary.
And I will second.
Okay. And Kelly, can you take the roll vote?
Trustee Bradall.
Yes.
Trustee Burkini.
Yes.
Trustee Doggett.
Yes.
Trustee Steele.
Yes.
And Trustee Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Yay. Thank you very much, Laverne, for your continued persistence on this. This was months worth of work. And when you think about understood or understand, that level really, truly matters. And as she said before, to her, when she hears a land acknowledgement, it is giving her a sense of pride and belonging and other pieces. So I thank you for championing this and bringing it forward.
And I also want to thank Elizabeth, because we worked on it together. And there was one really important sentence that she added in there.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Now we can go to future agenda items. Dr. Olson.
Okay, so the next round of June 9th is a busy time as well, because we have approval of the board, approval of the budget. Elna Flynn is not going to happen in person this year, and each school is recognizing their volunteer, but they may possibly be able to pull together a video recognizing their parent volunteers. If they do, we would do that very much like Amy Cole Farrell's video that she brought on today. We hope that they can, but they were not completely certain that they would be able to complete that. So shall we bring the suspension and expulsion policy forward at the next board meeting, or should we put it off until we have time to really digest it and spend some time on it? Because it is an important one and we don't want to rush through it or do anything wrong. I would want to do it probably in June or August, just so that we can start the new school year with the appropriate laws, but we don't have to do it on June 9th. So June 9th, June 30th, or August for the board policy on suspension and expulsion.
I think June 30th would be good.
Okay.
And then just to add something, I just want to remind the board members and the public that it's been a year since George Floyd was murdered. And we had committed at that time to start a committee and to start looking into equity and racial in education. And so it's been a year. And so I feel like we need to start discussing that and allowing input from teachers, staff, and the students who are old enough who, can express that. So I think that, is something that we should start, because there are, we have our LCAP now, we have the budget, and we've been really patient, but it's really time to start. There's other school districts out there who have been working on this throughout the pandemic. And so I really feel like this is something that is urgent, that we need to do so that we can start supporting our kids of color who are being suspended at a really high rate than their other students, and look at that.
So as we had discussed before, that we were going to work as a board around a series of work studies with Nicole Anderson that we've contracted with. That was going to be the beginning of our racial equity committee. And we have a date set for the end of August and the end of September.
I think that's good, but I think that we could even do more. Just for an example, there's a webinar from Discovery Education on equity talks from a school in Colorado that is 6th grade through 12th grade. And they're actually doing this webinar to talk about how the last year, and well, let's just say the years prior to that, have affected them. And so I think even things like this is something that we can do instead of just being idle and waiting for one person to tell us and to discuss with us over a school year on what to do. I'm not sure that's enough. That's what I'm trying to say here. And that's why I think we need to bring in other organizations. So I don't know what that discussion looks like or who's there. It's very important though. I guess I'm saying I think we need more than just Nicole coming in and facilitating that for just the board members. I think that what's happened in the past year has affected a lot of families and a lot of children. I know it's affected mine and how we relate to the police and when they're just driving by. My husband is Mexican and he's been profiled several times in Pacifica. So he's finally like, I live here, So I think it's really important, and I think we need to do more. So I don't know if we have to add that to the agenda or what that looks like, but I'm just wondering if that's possible.
So I guess I don't quite know where to start in terms of what you're asking for. Is that you want to get started on the Racial Equity Committee in June? You want more information on what we plan to do for racial equity next school year or in the LCAP? I guess I need more information about what specifically you're requesting.
I think you just said it all. I don't think that we have a plan. And, because we've been waiting for a year to address this, I think we need to meet. And I don't know if that's a conversation meeting where we can all just speak freely and not vote on anything, but just talk about what we think we need or what can happen. So I think that's where it might start.
Okay. Would you like to do that in June or in August?
In June.
Okay. Okay. I will work with Elizabeth around how we can get something scheduled.
Thank you.
Other agenda items? Okay, if there is nothing else, Madam President.
Okay, we'll adjourn this evening at 9:05 p.m.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.